Welcome everyone to UC Berkeley's virtual campus visit. Thank you for taking an hour out of your day to be here with us and to learn about our campus and ask any questions you want and to just vibe here with us. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce myself. So my name is Casey. I use the pronouns he, him, his, originally from Long Beach, California, although I currently am in Berkeley, California. I was a senior. I graduated last week. I am now an alumni. That makes me feel so old, but besides that, I got my BS in chemistry and some of my involvement on campus, besides being part of being a campus ambassador, I was in the UC Rally Committee, which is one of our spirit groups on campus. I was also part of Cal Student Philanthropy, getting, philanthropying for our campus, and also IM Sports, which is more of like working out for the fun of it and having friends and on teams rather than winning. That's a little bit about me. So I can tell you guys a little bit about the tour. So this is going to be a 45-minute presentation. And at the end of the presentation is then going to be a live Q&A session. So that'll be for 15 minutes. That's a full hour. I'm trying to do math in my head and also in the air. But so yeah, please type your questions out in the Q&A function. There is no chat, so please type out in the Q&A any questions you want us to answer, and please type them out throughout the tour. Don't wait until the very last second, because then it's kind of hard to grab them and answer them. And there will be polls throughout the tour. So if you happen to see a poll pop up, please respond to that poll. Usually I'd ask those questions live and in person, but since you can't see anybody raise hands, just please answer the poll. And this virtual visit is recorded, but a different version of this visit is available on our website. So if you want to see the information presented in maybe a different way, or if you just happen to miss a little tidbit information, you can jump on our website and see a whole nother tour. And this tour is a campus overview from the student perspective. So there is no financial aid or admissions information available. So if you would like to look at any of those, like financial aid or excuse me, if you want to look at any admissions or financial aid information, then we can ask the question and we'll direct you to the proper resources. And like I mentioned before, this will end with a Q&A, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions throughout this tour. So please type them out as soon as you have them. So without further ado, I'll hand it off to our two guides for today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to be one of your virtual tour guides. My name is Sydney, and I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. I'm originally from San Diego, California, and I'm here right now. It's about 80 degrees outside, so super nice day. Super excited to be giving this tour. I'm a rising junior at Berkeley, and I'm majoring in political science and double minoring in public policy and journalism. And I'm also involved in a few different things here on campus. So I'm a part of Berkeley Student Farms. So once a week, I try to head out to one of our various farms on campus and cultivate, and pick some different strawberries and all those type of things, all the wonderful items we grow in our gardens. I'm also the co-editor-in-chief of As Written magazine, which is a Jewish arts and culture magazine on campus. I actually started that myself last year. So really excited to be working on that next year. And I'm also part of the ASUC, which stands for the Associated Students of the University of California. And this is kind of like our student government on campus. And I also do some undergraduate research in one of our social sciences laboratories. And I'm also a part of Greek Life. So if you have any questions about that organization or anything at all, please feel free to use the Q&A. And I'll pass it over to Rayann.
Hi, everyone. I will be your second guide today. My name is Rayann. I use the she, hers pronouns, and I'm originally from Buffalo Grove, Illinois, which is a suburb about 40 minutes from Chicago. In the fall, I'll actually be a sophomore pursuing a double major in business administration and molecular and cell biology. And outside of classes and being a campus ambassador, I work with biotech startups as an analyst for Biobusiness Initiative Consulting. I'm an associate on the Haas Business School Association Sustainability Committee, doing some work for them. I also serve as an intern on the UCSF Patient Support Corps, working as a navigator on the COVID hotline. And finally, I'm also involved in Greek Life. So if you have any questions about any of these activities, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A. And yeah, I'm super excited to kick off this virtual visit with you all today.
Okay, perfect. So we just wanted to first off wish you guys a very warm welcome to our virtual campus tour. So you can go ahead and fill out that poll that we have. We just want to know who's joining us today. I see we have some high school juniors, so welcome. So yeah, just to kind of kick off our tour, And we wanted to show you guys a few photos that we think really encapsulate our campus. Up there in the top left, you can see our football team performing at our California Memorial Stadium. This is where all of our football games happen. That was one of my absolute favorite parts of freshman year, was going to our football games. We have so many spirited students at Cal, and it's so fun to go to these games. The student section is right on the 50-yard line, so you have like the best view of the whole stadium, which is awesome. Right there in the middle is our Sturdy the Bear. He's one of our many bear statues on campus. I remember taking a photo with him when I first got into Berkeley and I was touring around, and it was kind of embarrassing at the time because like people were walking by, but now looking back at the photo, I'm very glad I have that. So definitely recommend taking a photo with him if you ever get the chance to come onto our campus. And then up there in the top right, you can see some students lounging out on Memorial Glade. And this is just one of our big greenery areas on campus. I go there probably every single day with my friends. We play like spike ball, or you can do homework out there. There's actually Wi-Fi on the lawn, so sometimes I would do my Zoom classes out there. And also this year, we're so excited to announce that it was our 150th anniversary of accepting women to our university. And this was a really huge milestone for our university because women were actually accepted just 2 years after Berkeley was founded. And kind of a fun fact I always like to share on our tours is that women were actually accepted to Berkeley before they had the right to vote in the United States. So that just really speaks, Berkeley's history as a progressive and inclusive institution.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Sydney. So before we actually jump into the virtual visit, here's kind of a look at what's on our agenda for today. We'll be starting off with an overview of Berkeley, its history, before moving into some academics, housing and dining, as well as the many health and safety resources we have here on campus. We'll then transition into talking about some student resources and give you an idea of what being a Berkeley student is all about. We'll then go through our wonderful athletics program, libraries, and research, as well as kind of how we've been adjusting to remote learning during this past year during the pandemic. And finally, we'll have some time at the end to answer some questions live. So please feel free to drop any questions that you have in the Q&A throughout this presentation.
Okay, great. So to kick it off with just some history of Berkeley, we've been around for a very, very long time. We were founded on March 23rd, 1868. So we were actually the first UC campus. And so because of this, we kind of have a lot of names that all just refer to our campus. So you might have heard of us referred to as Berkeley or Cal, UCB, University of California, but these all just refer to our flagship university. And our mascot is the Golden Bears, and you can see our Oski, our mascot, in the top left photo. He is so adorable. He's always like walking around campus. Like I run into him all the time, even in COVID times. He would just be walking down the street and give me a high five, and it was always like the highlight of my day. So I'm really glad to have him around campus. And we are quite a big university, so we have just over 30,000 undergraduate students and about 11,000 graduate students. And even though this number may sound really daunting, I know I came from a pretty small high school. Hearing those numbers was like, it's incredibly scary to me. I think there's so many ways to find your community and find that smaller group for you on campus. I always say, it's harder to make like a small school feel big. It's really easy to make a big school feel small. And there's so many ways for you to do that at Berkeley. And just because we've been around for so long, Berkeley has so much history kind of baked into our university and even just into our campus. So there's a lot of historical landmarks around campus. We have our Campanile, which is our clock and bell tower. You can see some really cool drone footage of that in the top right photo, or the top right clip. And the Campanile is actually the third tallest clock and bell tower in the entire world. So you can basically see it from any point around campus. And we also have Sather Gate, which is there on the bottom right. You might have seen it in the movie Ant-Man or Monsters, Inc. if you've ever watched those movies. I walk under that every single day, and it's just kind of a reminder of how much history Berkeley has right on our campus.
Okay, so kind of going off of our history, as Berkeley students, we really pride ourselves in our campus culture of just being change makers in general. And a large part of that actually stems from our rich history with the free speech movement in the 60s. That was really a pivotal moment where students here fought for their right to political advocacy and just the power to discuss kind of the topics that they really wanted to. And this not only influenced and spread to college campuses all across the country at the time, but has continued to inspire our campus today. So for example, it's kind of given way to a long-lasting tradition of what we call tabling here on Sproul Plaza. Basically, you'll see tons of student groups just bombard you with flyers and information about the work they're doing, encouraging you to join their organization as you walk along Sproul Plaza. And I think, to me, that just really attests to how diverse the passions are here. So through our commitment to not only free speech, but just being leaders in general, challenging the status quo, entrepreneurship, and research and innovation, I think you can just really see that Berkeley pushes the boundaries and strives for excellence, both academically and socially. And through compassion, passion, and a love for social justice, we really aim to build a strong community of golden bears. One of my favorite things about Berkeley is the really strong school spirit and pride here. You can literally yell "Go Bears" anywhere on campus and someone is bound to repeat it back to you, which I always think is super, super fun and really cool part of being a student here. And then some of our other core values include diversity, excellence, as well as public service.
Thank you so much, Rayann. And yeah, Rayann was talking about, tabling on Sproul Plaza earlier, and kind of these photos on the left are some photos of Sproul Plaza. This is like such a hub for student campus, just like Rayann was explaining. If they're in the top left, you can see a photo of one of the protests that goes on campus. Berkeley definitely has kind of a reputation of being a school with a student body of activists. And, being a part of protests and activism is definitely a part of some Berkeley students, but it's definitely not like a requisite for being Golden Bear, for being a student here. I would always like participate in protests just by kind of like walking through them on the way to class. It's kind of a fun way to just feel like connected with the other students. But there's always so many things going on Sproul Plaza, like protests. There's also like dances. You can see in the bottom left photo, that's our dance group on campus, and they're performing a Friday noon rally before one of our football games. I had a class that got out at noon, and it was always so fun to go over and hear the band and see the dancers perform. And also in the middle photos, you can see just like some research going on around campus. Berkeley students are kind of at the forefront of a lot of change, and there's so many ways as undergraduate students to get involved in research, and we'll definitely get into that a lot later. And just kind of another photo touching on like the school spirit that Rayann was talking about. You can see our Valley Committee in the top right. I know Casey, who you saw at the very beginning of this presentation, he's in Rally Committee. They're just such a spirited and awesome group. So if you're really looking to get involved in Spirit, I definitely recommend checking them out.
Yeah, okay, so like Sydney kind of talked about with our campus culture, part of that is that Berkeley also strives to be a huge global leader and make an impact on the world. We're extremely committed to access and scalability in our academic offerings and have a variety of student tech and remote youth programs to help support this mission. For the past year, Berkeley has actually also continued to strive to be a leader in making our world a better place during the pandemic with COVID. So for example, launching the trial of saliva tests for COVID back last summer when it first began, or creating respiratory devices and ventilators. We also have many student and faculty researchers on campus continuing to study the biological, cultural, and economic impact of COVID on just like a variety of diverse communities around the world, and just really investigating what the best ways to kind of help alleviate this crisis are. At the same time, we also really value advocacy and social justice on campus and have many programs centered around human rights, anti-racism, and bias training. As an institution, we also recognize that being a student can be tough, and it's incredibly important to us that we also have support programs to build up student resilience, prevent trauma and burnout in our community. But yeah, now let's go ahead and jump into our academics.
Perfect. So now we're going to transition to talk about some of our undergraduate colleges here on campus. And a poll should have just popped up, so you can fill out what you're interested in. You might not know exactly, but it's just helpful for us to know like what you're vaguely interested in, so we can try to cater the tour to you as much as possible. I see we have some social sciences like poli-sci, so we go poli-sci. So yeah, we have 5 undergraduate colleges here at Berkeley that students can matriculate into. And we'll go into all of these individually, but just as kind of an overview, these are the College of Letters and Science, the Rouser College of Natural Resources, the College of Environmental Design, the College of Chemistry, and the College of Engineering. And it's definitely possible to transfer between these colleges, but we really recommend that if you're interested in the colleges of chemistry or engineering, that you apply directly to those, just because it is a little bit more difficult to transfer into those colleges than it is to transfer out. But this doesn't mean that you can't take classes, across different colleges. I've definitely done that in my time at Berkeley. And I see we have some interests all across the board, so that's so exciting. And hopefully, as we go into each college, that'll give you a more in-depth look at maybe what you're looking for.
Perfect. Okay, so up first we have the College of Letters and Science, which is our biggest undergraduate college, housing about 3/4 of the undergraduate population here. So both Sydney and I actually belong to this college, and there are 5 academic divisions: arts and humanities, biological sciences, mathematical and physical sciences, social sciences, and then just general undergraduate studies. We also have over 80 different majors. So as you can probably see, letters and science really covers a broad range of interests. Fun fact, we also have 17 of our 25 total Nobel Prizes from this college, which is super, super cool. And as a student in this college, something I personally really like highlighting is the 7-course breadth requirement. That basically requires students to take 7 courses across a variety of disciplines, just to provide you with like a rich and varied perspectives on areas outside of your major, kind of strengthen those interdisciplinary connections. And from this, I myself have just discovered some of my favorite classes here at Cal. Just this past spring semester, I took a course in human happiness, super, super cool. In the fall, I took an English class on American capitalism, and these are just really courses that I probably wouldn't have explored otherwise, which is something that I just really think is cool and I like to highlight.
Definitely. I've heard such good things about that human happiness class. So I really hope to take that like in my time at Berkeley. So yeah, even though, like Ryan said, I'm a student in the College of Letters and Science, I've also gotten to take some classes in this next college we're going to be talking about, which is the Rouser College of Natural Resources. So this college definitely has a more environmental focus. So kind of an example of how it takes like that environmental spin on the College of Letters and Science. If you're interested in economics, you can study economics in the College of Letters and Science, but if you're more interested in like the environmental side of it, you can study environmental economics and policy in this college. So that's just one example of like all the amazing majors they have, but there's so many different classes and majors you could take, spanning such a different variety of disciplines. They kind of list them on the screen there. You could take classes in the biological sciences, nutrition, toxicology, ecosystem management, list goes on and on. And something I really appreciate about this college is it really has a commitment and focus on sustainability and social justice. So I actually took a class last semester that was focused on race, class, equity, and the environment. That was the name of the class. And it really just studied environmental issues kind of at the intersection of race and a lot of these other, like prominent topics of the 21st century. And that was like such an awesome class. But another really great perk if you're in this college is that a lot of students get to do field work actually right on our Berkeley campus, just because we have so much nature running through our campus. So you can see that photo in the top left. That's some students doing some restoration work in our Strawberry Creek. And that's a river that runs like all the way through campus, which is really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. As like a business major, one of my like also interests is like the integration of sustainability in business. So I'll definitely want to take classes in the College of Natural Resources as well one day. But okay, let's go ahead and talk about the College of Environmental Design, which is actually our smallest college with around 650 students total. They have 4 majors: architecture, landscape architecture, urban studies, and sustainable environmental design. And as you can see from the top of the slide, our architecture program is ranked number 4 globally, which is something we're really, really proud of. Um, Also on the slide, the footage you see on the right is at Bauerster Hall, which houses the College of Environmental Design. And it's really a tool in and of itself to help students kind of learn about architecture and see how sustainable buildings are built just by stepping outside of the building and kind of looking how things are put together. This college is also known for incorporating social issues and sustainable goals into the design profession. And they have many studios spread throughout for students to work at. And you can see that on the top right corner.
Yeah, Bauerster Hall is like actually holds one of my favorite libraries on campus. We have so many different ones, but I remember like I was really lost my first week at Berkeley and I accidentally walked into the building, not having any idea what it is. And I found the library and I studied there like almost every day freshman year. So yeah, definitely check out that building if you ever get the chance. But the next college that we're going to be talking about is the College of Chemistry. And this college is ranked #1 globally. So if you want to study chemistry, there's basically no better place in the world besides this college to study at. I know Casey, our moderator, is in this college and he cannot speak more highly of it. So I've definitely heard some really great things. This college is on the smaller side. It only has about 1,000 students, and there's 3 majors within it. So chemistry, chemical engineering, and chemical biology. And this college is really at the forefront of a lot of like innovation and research, but there's also a lot of history attached to this college. So we've actually discovered 16 elements here at Berkeley, and some of them are even named after our own school, like berkelium and californium. I think Berkeley has discovered like 1/3 or 1/4 of the periodic table, something absolutely insane. And we've also discovered the Lewis dot structure. And I am, so like if you've ever been in an introductory chemistry class, I'm not a chemistry person whatsoever, but I remember taking a chemistry class in high school. And this is like one of the foundational structures to chemistry. And that was actually discovered here by one of our professors, Gilbert Lewis. So, there's so many amazing professors and faculty that have gone through this college and that continue to teach there. So yeah, definitely a really amazing school if you're interested in chemistry.
Yeah, definitely a super cool college. I took organic chemistry this past semester, and my professor actually wrote the entire textbook. So, for sure, definitely really well accomplished professors in this college. But finally, our last undergraduate college is the College of Engineering with about 3,800 students. There are 11 different majors to choose from, and actually, all of these are ranked in the top 9 globally. So, if you're interested in engineering, Berkeley is definitely a great school for you. The College of Engineering is one that we really want prospective students to apply directly to if you kind of know you're already interested in pursuing engineering education. It can be trickier to transfer in after you're admitted to Cal already, so that's just something we want students to be aware of. Along with their technical courses that all students will take in this college, they'll also take a variety of humanities and social science breadth courses, just so that they're getting a really well-rounded education while they're here at Berkeley. Another thing to note is that around 50 students in this college each year are also part of our Management, Entrepreneurship, and Technology program, also known as MET, and they'll go on to earn a dual degree from both the Haas School of Business and the College of Engineering. But if you're interested in learning more about some of the things I just covered, we do offer separate engineering virtual tours on Thursdays and Saturdays. So we highly encourage you to check those out if you're interested.
Okay, perfect. So now that we've kind of gone over all of our undergraduate colleges on campus, we just really wanted to quickly touch on our graduate schools here, especially the Haas School of Business. I know Rayann is a part of this one. So actually, as an undergraduate student at Berkeley, you have the chance to study in the Haas School of Business during your time at Berkeley. So kind of towards the end of your sophomore year, if you're interested in studying business, you would apply to the Haas School of Business. And if you get in, you would spend your last 2 years getting a degree in business administration from the Haas School. And this is a really incredible opportunity for students. I know Haas is ranked so incredibly high on like the list of business schools in the US. It's also absolutely beautiful. It's pictured in that right photo right there. I always like to study like in the courtyard of Haas, so just out there. But we also have a number of other graduate schools where it's possible to take classes in as well. I got my minor through the Graduate School of Journalism. I got my minor in journalism through that school. But there's also, so many other ones that you can take classes in if you're interested in. And like it notes at the bottom, some undergraduate departments offer graduate programs. It's just a great way to kind of continue your education, however you may see fit.
Okay, so as an undergraduate student here at Berkeley, the majority of your classes will include both a lecture and a discussion component. And the discussion component is basically a smaller, more intimate setting of around, I'd say 20 students, where a graduate student instructor or GSI will lead you in reinforcing the material that you learn in your larger lecture sections. All of our GSIs and professors are required to hold office hours, and through these, I've personally been able to form, some really strong one-on-one connections with some of them. in my opinion, Berkeley instructors are just like really wonderful people. They're willing to sit down and just answer questions or talk about like unrelated things such as their research. I had a psych professor who works with like a rehabilitation program for inmates, and I literally just go to his office hours and kind of pick his brain about like the really cool experiences gained with that. But yeah, Berkeley has a 19-to-1 student faculty ratio, and 85% of our classes have fewer than 50 students. Lab and studio courses are also very hands-on, and I know that definitely when we returned in-person instruction in the fall, I'm super excited to be in person for my lab components. We also have a lot of academic resources to help students in their learning and help support them. The Student Learning Center is also known as the SLC, and they're basically a tutoring hub that kind of offers tutoring support in a variety of different subjects and courses. I've taken advantage extensively of them this past semester while studying for organic chemistry. They were really helpful in just helping you enforce the material that you're learning, and helping you connect to other students who want to form study groups. They provide review sessions before midterms and finals, which is really great. And there's also individual advising appointments available for students to meet with advisors, kind of set those appointments up and plan out any courses or academics plans that you may need.
Yeah, I cannot recommend the Student Learning Center enough. That place has saved my life so many times. I have literally gone in there crying because I couldn't understand part of my homework. So yeah, I definitely recommend them. So now we're going to transition and talk about what remote learning has looked like over the past year. If you're a high school junior or sophomore right now, hopefully by the time you get to Berkeley, we will be far gone with the pandemic. But this is just kind of a glimpse into how Berkeley really like persisted and was so resilient over the past year in its education. So for both the fall and spring semester, we were fully remote. But for the next upcoming fall semester, we're hoping to be mostly in person. All classes with fewer than 200 students will plan to be in person. And over this past year, all students had access to a Zoom Pro account. And this is pretty awesome just because that means you can hold meetings for as long as you want. They can go way past 40 minutes, which is kind of like the standard Zoom meeting time. So I would go on Zoom, not just for classes, but also for like social events with my friends and clubs and everything like that. So that was definitely a really great resource. And we also kind of had two different learning avenues with Zoom classes. So this consisted of both synchronous and asynchronous learning. And so how this worked was synchronous learning means you actually go to the Zoom room live, you're there with your professor, you can ask questions, unmute, use the chat, whatever you want to do. But then asynchronous learning kind of more took the form of your teacher would pre-record the lecture and maybe upload it to, your class's page. And then you can watch your lecture anytime you want. I had an 8 a.m. last semester and I loved asynchronous learning for that reason. So that meant I didn't have to get up at 8 a.m. and I could watch it whenever I wanted. I really appreciated that part of it. And Rayann was kind of mentioning, some of the awesome resources we have for our students earlier, like the Student Learning Center, and all of these resources transitioned online. So we had virtual drop-in tutoring. Also, I had found that office hours had never been, more accessible. I would just go onto Zoom and hop on to a call with my professor. Some of my professors even preferred to FaceTime. So I have like the literal phone numbers of some of my professors, which is kind of funny. But this was super helpful just because in regular years, sometimes office hours are at weird times. You have to like sprint across campus to get there. But I have just found that over this past year, even though everything was on Zoom, I still had a really great experience. I was able to like travel with my friends. I took classes in Tahoe for 1 week and I was like skiing in between my classes. That was super fun. Teachers were so accessible and so willing to accommodate student situations and everything, understanding that the pandemic is such a hard time. And that I think that just really speaks, like Rayann was saying, like Berkeley professors are just amazing people. And I'm really excited to get back into the classroom in the fall as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like Sydney said, I think I've been really pleasantly surprised by how easy everything is coming in as like a freshman last year. It's just been really easy, like getting to know my professors, doing my schoolwork and everything. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into housing and dining. We'd love to get to know you a little bit more. So go ahead and answer that poll question. Okay, so for housing and dining, we have 7 different housing options for undergrads and a variety of residential halls and suites. Some of them include units 1, 2, and 3, which are kind of your typical high-rise dorms. And in a normal year without COVID, many students I know leave their doors open and your neighbors will just kind of pop by and say hi. And it's just like a really friendly environment to meet people. We also have Clark Kerr, the farthest from campus, but they have a lot of green space there. Stern, our community for students who identify as women, as well as many others. So freshman students do get priority when it comes to housing, as long as you put like, I think it's along the lines of like any room, any location as your 5th option when filling out the housing application. And about 96% of all our freshmen each year choose to live in on-campus housing. We also have many resources available for students in the dorms, including an RA or a residential assistant, theme programs, which they basically pair an academic component with your rooming experience. And I've heard it's just a really amazing experience to live with roommates who kind of share the same interests and identity as you. I've heard some of them offerings include like the African American theme program. We have the Asian Pacific American one. I believe we have Wise for Women STEAM as well as others. And another thing to note is that with your room assignments, they also come with a meal plan. So that'll make sure that you're well fed. And then finally, because this past year has looked a little different due to the pandemic, we have had changes implemented so that all our rooms and dorms have been converted into singles with face masks required at all times when you're not in your room. We also have social pods set up so that while you're still safe, you are, forming friendships with other people during your first year here, which is super great.
Yeah, I lived in Clark Kerr my freshman year and I absolutely loved it. It's like really close to a lot of hiking trails. I like loved it so much. I almost thought about being like a residential assistant my sophomore year so I could live there again. But yeah, now we're just going to talk about some other, options for students after your first year. If you're a transfer student, kind of like what housing looks like. It's super possible to still live in the dorms if you want to. It's definitely an option, but a lot of students do kind of choose other housing avenues. So like I mentioned, on-campus housing definitely is an option. Students can also live in International House, which is pictured in the top left photo. This is mostly for international students, but you don't have to be an international student to live there. I've heard they have like the best dining hall ever, so I definitely have to check that out next year, hopefully when it opens. And we also have some affiliated properties. So these include like Garden Village, Martinez Commons, Channing Bowditch. These are pictured in the right photos. I know that's definitely a popular option for students. A lot of my friends this year decided to go into off-campus apartments, just if you're looking for a little bit of that more independence, you want to live with like 1 or 2 friends, that's a great option. We also have co-op housing. And so how this works is it's like a group of students that live together. Sometimes it's around like a general interest. So one of my friends is living in a co-op right now, and everyone that lives there is vegan and vegetarian, and they make some absolutely fire vegan and vegetarian meals. I've gone to visit her once, and that's also like a pretty cheap housing option. If that is a factor for you. And also, if you're a part of Greek life, you can definitely live in your fraternity or sorority house. I did that this past year and I loved it just because it was a really great way to kind of get closer with other girls in my sorority. And also after your freshman year, if you want to take on cooking, like totally go for it. But if you really love the dining hall food or you just don't feel like you have time in your schedule to cook, you can definitely get that meal plan that's available to you freshman year. I know a lot of my friends did that just out of laziness, but also out of convenience. But if you want to hear more about our housing, you can also go to housing.berkeley.edu. They have a lot of resources on there for you.
Okay, so now that we've kind of dived into our academics, housing and dining, you're probably wondering what might happen if you get sick on campus. So the Tank Center houses our university health services, and they provide resources including urgent care, primary care, and physical therapy. And then SHIP is our student health insurance plan that you can opt into. It provides cheaper rates on some of our health services, but you can also choose to opt out like I did if you're on a personal or family insurance plan that you can use instead. So then during the pandemic as well, all our students have had access to free and super convenient COVID surveillance testing through the Tank Center. It's really easy to just go get tested. Honestly, as often as you want. It takes about 2 to 3 days for results to get back to you. I've been getting tested basically since I arrived in Berkeley for this spring semester, And it's just a really great way to make sure that, like I'm keeping myself and others around me safe and healthy. We also have psychological counseling available, and Path to Care is a really great resource that works to build a campus community, free from sexual assault, violence and harassment, and it just really promotes like building healthy relationships with other students. And they also offer services, like healing services to students who may be affected by that. We also have the Optometry Eye Center run by our grad students in School of Optometry that Sydney kind of talked about a little bit earlier with grad schools. And then we also have additional stress relief resources like Pause for Mental Health and Llama-Palooza, which is basically a really cool event that typically happens twice a year right before finals week. Although I've yet to kind of experience Llama-Palooza, I've heard that it's just a really fun event for you to like de-stress, get your mind off of things, and just hang out with llamas, which is like super cool.
Yeah, I had Llama-Palooza my freshman year at Berkeley, and I remember like I didn't know it was going on, and all of a sudden I just walked over to Memorial Glade, and there were like about 15 llamas, and I was really confused, but it was really funny to see that. So yeah, now we're going to talk about some of our campus safety services. Berkeley is an urban area, so it's definitely really important to be aware of your surroundings. But we also have so many safety services that as a student, knowing that we have all of these, I've never felt unsafe or ever felt like I couldn't get help if I needed it. So I think one of the main services we have that is really awesome is our blue light poles. So how this works is you can see in the bottom left photo, if you just press that button, there's about 100 of these around campus. So basically anywhere you walk, you can see them within like a 10-foot radius view. But if you press that button, somebody from the UC Police Department will be at your location within 90 to 120 seconds, which is an incredibly fast turnaround. I've never felt the need to use these, but I try and spot them around campus, if I ever did need help. And we also have a system called Warn Me. And so this is kind of like a phone alert system. So they might send you an email if there's a certain area you should avoid, if a fire hydrant exploded, like whatever it may be, they will let you know about that. And we also have a 3-point security system in our residence halls. And this is just making sure students in our residence halls are at the utmost safety. At night, we also have people at the front desk when you walk into the building, just checking you in and making sure, nobody's coming in that shouldn't be there. And we also have some other really awesome night services. So we have a night safety shuttle. So, if you're ever studying really late on campus in one of our awesome libraries, I know I've definitely had a few very late nights in those libraries. You can take the campus safety shuttle back to your dorm. They'll drop you off. I believe they operate until like 3 in the morning or something like that. And we also have a system called Bear Walk. And so this is a group of radio equipped and trained students through the UCPD, and they can walk you wherever you want to go. I remember I just once wanted to like see what Bear Walk was all about. So I had somebody walk me and my friend to Taco Bell. It was great. They're super friendly and nice. So I definitely recommend taking advantage of that when you get onto campus.
Definitely, I think coming in, I was a little concerned about the safety and coming from like a suburban area, but I will definitely say that because of the so many like safety resources I know are available to me, honestly, I haven't really like felt like I was in danger ever this past semester. But okay, so let's jump into student resources, specifically for student development. We have the Centers for Educational Justice and Community Engagement to really help promote student development and identity and communities. Some of the programs include the Gender Equity Resource Center, Multicultural Community Center, as well as many other valuable programs for underrepresented or minority students. We also have the Associated Students of the University of California, or the ASUC. They basically advocate for student needs. I know a couple semesters ago, while COVID just started, they helped advocate by providing students with a no pass option for classes up until the end of the semester, which has been honestly really incredibly helpful for handling academics. I know myself, I've taken advantage of that. We also have the Transfer Student Center, as well as support for undocumented students. And then going on to more like student development for support and equity, we have the Disabled Students Program, or DSP, as well as the Basic Needs Center. This is programs like the Food Pantry, an emergency food relief supply available for all UC Berkeley students who really need it. There's no eligibility requirements, and it's run on a self-assessed needs basis for whoever kind of needs it, which is a great resource. Something cool that's there.
Yeah, Berkeley has so many amazing resources. I feel like I hear about a different resource I can take advantage of like every single week. It's insane. The school is so committed to helping its students. And I always feel like very supported at Berkeley. So yeah, now we're just going to talk a little bit about like our student life on campus. And personally, I think this is one of my absolute favorite parts of being at Berkeley and like being a student here. All of the students are like have so much school spirit and are just so proud and excited to be Golden Bears. You can kind of see this reflected in the number of student organizations we have. We have over 1,000 registered student organizations. So sorry. Oh my God, sorry, something's got in my throat. We also have so many volunteering opportunities, campus employment opportunities. Me and Rayann are both campus ambassadors. I think it's the best campus job. There's also so many internships you can take advantage of just because Berkeley is in the center of the Bay Area. So we're so close to San Francisco and Silicon Valley. I'm so sorry. We also have so many study abroad opportunities. I applied to study abroad this past semester, and it literally took me so long to figure out where I wanted to go because there was just such a plethora of opportunities. There's basically one on every single continent if you want to take advantage of that. But if you love the Bay Area so much and you love Berkeley so much, you could not possibly imagine leaving for a semester. You can totally stay here. I think it's pretty much impossible to get bored. I find something new to do like every single weekend. Me and my friends will go into the city or go hiking in the Berkeley trails. So there's always something to do. Always something to do if you're interested in that.
Yeah, honestly, we have so many internship opportunities here at Berkeley. As Berkeley students, we have access to Berkeley Skydeck, which is a nationally known startup accelerator and incubator program. And at the end of each semester, they hold like an internship fair just to connect students to internship opportunities with their startups. And that's how I actually found my summer internship, which is starting next week, and that's super cool. But now let's move on to athletics. So the first level of competition that we have is Division One. Berkeley is a member of the Pac-12 with 30 NCAA Division 1A teams. So we're very proud of our athletics. Go Bears. Our other levels of competition include club and intramural / recreational, which is a lot more laid back, but you can also still pursue your interests in sports and athletics. California Memorial Stadium is primarily used for our football games, which if you haven't been able to tell yet is kind of a big deal here. It houses 55,000 seats, and as Berkeley students, we get reduced prices for season tickets, which is super cool. Haas Pavilion is home to our basketball, volleyball, and gymnastics teams, and we also have the Recreational Sports Facility, also known as the RSF. They have a variety of offerings from, a full gym, they have fitness classes, intramural sports, really everything and anything that you can think of related to wellness and fitness you'll probably find in the RSF. And then finally, fun fact, Berkeley has 207 total Olympic medals, which is really, really cool.
I remember learning that like if Berkeley was a country, I think we would be in like the top 10 of Olympic medals owned or something like that. It's pretty insane. But yeah, now we're just going to kind of talk about some of our remote resources that we've had over this past year. Even though everything has been remote, it's been more important than ever to continue building that community. And because of that, there's just been so many different social media networks. A lot of my clubs I have found have still tried to host like social hours and social events online just because we can't meet in person. So yeah, a lot of student groups and clubs really tried really hard to transition everything online to make sure students are still feeling connected, even though it was a time where students were feeling more alone. And I remember that my department, my poli-sci department, hosted so many different webinars and just like series of events that you could go to over the past semester. I know Berkeley also hosts something called Campus Conversations, where we bring in some amazing guest lectures, talk about really critical issues. So there's been a lot of opportunities to kind of watch and tune into those. And something I even really appreciated just with my classes over this past year is with everything being remote, it was really easy to bring in some guest lectures from all over the world. Because, in a regular school year, it was a little bit more difficult for them to fly out all the way to Berkeley. But with Zoom, they could just hop onto our Zoom webinar. I remember I had the leader of the Black Lives Matter movement come in and talk to one of my classes. So that was a really incredible opportunity. And we also have something called Golden Bear Orientation for incoming freshmen and transfer students. This also transitioned completely online. It's just a great introduction to Berkeley and really a way for students to make friends, kind of prepare for the upcoming school year. I met my best friend at Cal to this day through GBO. So I'm really thankful for that. And hopefully that will be in person in the fall.
Yeah, like Sydney kind of talked about, I actually was also fortunate enough to meet one of my best friends through GBO, even though it was virtual when I went through it. But yeah, just a really, really great experience. Okay, so as a research institution, Berkeley has many, many resources in terms of libraries and research. We have 24 official libraries, and I actually have yet to set foot in a single one because of the pandemic, but my goal is to definitely hit all of them before I graduate. That's something I definitely want to do. We have over 13 million volumes and very extensive online resources. Personally, they've been incredibly helpful to me this spring semester. I was doing some market research for a client with my consulting organization, and it really came, to be helpful. And I know other students use them for classes or personal research projects that they do. In terms of research, we have the Undergraduate Research Apprentice program, also known as URAP, and the work I do with UCSF through Patient Support Corps, I actually found through URAP. Basically how it works is that you take a look at kind of what projects professors are currently working on, and you can apply to directly work with them on the ones you're interested in. Another common research program that students take advantage of is the Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowships, or SURF, where you can engage in sustained summer research. And then finally, many departments offer their own, departmental opportunities as well. So many, many research opportunities if that's something that you want to pursue.
Awesome. So now we're just going to really quickly touch on some of the famous alumni and professors that have gone through Berkeley. One person we really like to point out is Jennifer Doudna. She won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry just this past year for her work in CRISPR research. She's awesome. I believe she still teaches at Berkeley. So that's just a chance to, literally be taught by a Nobel laureate, which is incredible. We also have so many other people that have come through Berkeley and have really done the work to make Berkeley, or give Berkeley the name that it has. I know Steve Wozniak is another person we love to point out. He was the co-founder of Apple, really huge inspiration, along with so many other amazing people you can see on the screen. And hopefully if you come to Berkeley, maybe you could be on here one day. You never know. But yeah, we just love to shout these out.
Okay, and finally, we're going to wrap up the tour by talking about some campus highlights. Personally, something I really love about being a student here at Berkeley is that we're very intertwined in, the urban environment, the busy city of Berkeley, and just the Bay Area in general. But there's also so much nature on and around campus where you can basically just completely forget that you're in an urban environment. I love finding a quiet beat or a quiet bench among the redwood trees and just kind of relaxing in between classes if I have to log on to a Zoom meeting. My friends and I also, we go up to the Berkeley Marina quite often and rent a kayak. And then finally, as you can tell from the slide, Berkeley just has completely unmatched sunsets. Every night, my housemates and I from our apartment, we would just go out into the balcony and see the sunsets and just kind of the Bay Area in general. So really cool surrounding areas, lots of things to do. Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about being a student here at Cal.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for that wonderful tour. So now we're going to jump into just a few live questions since we're running short on time. So the first question is for you, Sydney. And this question is, what are some popular extracurriculars to do? And how can I get a good balance of academic and social life while at Berkeley?
Yeah, of course. This is a great question. And I think this was something like I really struggled with coming into Berkeley because I knew, obviously like I wanted my academics to be really an important part of my college experience, but college is also so much more than that. It's about like making friends. And I felt that like a really great way to do this was to get involved with clubs. And like Rayann was talking about earlier in the tour, if you walk through Sproul Plaza in a regular year, there's like 100 different clubs tabling. So basically, like the opportunities to get involved are really just like right there in front of you, and it's just like up to you to take advantage of that. And there are, like I said, like there's like 1,000 student clubs, so there are so many different things to get involved in. But I would say some of the more like popular ones. I know a lot of students like myself are a part of the Associated Students of the University of California. So it's like our student government, and I actually did some work and helping students to get like the pass no pass option like Rayann was talking about. That was like some really rewarding work, but there's also so many different things you can do within that. I know a lot of students are also involved in more like athletic teams that are more like low key, you could say. I know Casey, you're on like an intramural team. I definitely wanted to get involved in one of those. I know dance is like a huge sport for a lot of students on campus also. But there's really just like so many different clubs and organizations. I think it really speaks like the variety of like passions and like directions students are taking in their life. So like whatever you get involved in or whatever you're interested in, I'm sure you'll find another group of students that are interested in that too. And I think I have actually found it like really easy to have a good balance of social life and academics at Berkeley. I wasn't really expecting this just because, like you hear of Berkeley and like the really intense academic reputation. But like the students here are awesome and they're so laid back. And Greek life had like really helped me find like my place within like social life, like gave me a lot of avenues through that. There's also like so many other different social organizations you can join. So the opportunities are definitely there for you. And it's just like whatever you want your college experience to be like and whatever like you want to take advantage of.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. I can definitely say join anything, join everything. Go to Caltopia and Calapalooza. There's so many Cal puns. Go to all of them. Yeah, they're like as Sydney said, there's so much for you to be a part of. Like my joke is that there's an origami club and there's a Disney club, but if you want to make that Disney origami club, if it doesn't exist, go out and make it too. So like, you can always add to the social atmosphere here at Berkeley. Awesome. So now the next question is for you, Rayann. And the question is, what is it like adjusting to life at Berkeley coming as an out-of-state student?
Yeah, definitely. I love that question because I think being here at Berkeley, the majority of my friends have actually, they're all in state from California. You don't find too many out of state students. But I think from my perspective, it's something that's honestly been great. I've loved like just meeting people from all over like California, but also like, international kids or out of state kids. And I think at first I was a little bit intimidated, just thinking, oh, I'm going all the way out into the West Coast from Chicago, being in the Midwest. But I've honestly really loved my experience here. People are so welcoming and friendly. And I've really been able to find my place through, like talking about the organizations that Sydney kind of talked about earlier or through Greek life. So yeah, honestly, it's just been a really great experience. I think GBO, Golden Bear Orientation, which we kind of talked about earlier, really helped me transition from, going from high school to college. Yeah, and I think it's just a great experience overall.
That's great to hear because I also have a friend from Chicago who he graduated in chemistry a year above me, and he also has great things to say, but also just kind of funny from Chicago. Anyway, so next question for you, or second to last question for you, Sydney, is what are your passions? How do you fulfill that at Berkeley? Or what passions have you discovered at Berkeley that you did not know before?
Yeah, this is another great question. I think Berkeley has honestly really helped me to kind of like explore different things I was interested in that just wasn't really possible in high school. And so like one of the main things is like I knew I was really interested in journalism in high school. And I ended up joining the Daily Cal like my first semester at Berkeley. But I kind of wanted a more like an outlet that let me kind of like have more direction and authority like over what I was writing and over like what I was producing. So I ended up just like starting my own magazine at Berkeley through the ASUC. And this was really awesome. I like never thought I would be able to say that like I helped to like found and create a magazine, but it was something that was so easy to pursue at Berkeley. I just had to like walk into an office and fill out a form, and like now I have an official magazine, which is crazy. And then like I've also gotten a lot of friends involved in that, which has been great. I think something else that I've like really kind of like discovered at Berkeley is like just like my love for the outdoors. And I've been like so thankful that Berkeley is kind of located right underneath these amazing hiking trails. There's like so much nature, not only on the Berkeley campus, but also right next to Berkeley and like all around it. You know, even though Berkeley like is an urban area, it takes like a 5-minute walk and all of a sudden you're in like these magnificent fire trails. You can kind of see like a view from them in the back of Rayann's screen. And just like I really kind of like ran with that. I started like surfing this year. I, you know, like went out with the surf team and like became their photographer because I wasn't very good at surfing, but I still wanted to like be involved with them. So yeah, there's just like so many ways to get involved and like pursue whatever you want to do at Berkeley. Like I mentioned earlier, like whatever you're interested in, you can find like 110 kids that are interested in the same things, and that like will push you to discover those. So yeah, I've like really appreciate, that's like one of the things I really appreciate about Berkeley.
Yay for Berkeley, yay for the exploration of the Bay, whether it's surfing or going to the hiking trails or anything else in between. Location, 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 you know. But okay, so next we're not going to go to our very last question, which both of you guys will answer, first with you, Rayann, and then Sydney. And the question is, what is your Berkeley story? So why did you choose Berkeley? What was the best part of coming to Berkeley? Just everything about why Berkeley. So first off with you, Rayann.
Yeah, I love really telling my Berkeley story. It kind of starts off in high school where I just toured, a whopping number of 14 colleges. Yes, very intense, I know. And Cal was actually my first school that I ever toured. So I consider that kind of like my lucky sign that I ended up exactly where I belong. But aside from that, and on a more serious note, I really knew Berkeley was special to me because when comparing my different tours, I was really able to look past similarities that I saw across schools in, academic offerings and programs, and pinpoint exactly what set Cal apart for me. And I think for me, that was really just the energy and the vibes I got here. Here, I just really sensed a culture of ambition, and I knew I'd constantly be learning and challenged and exposed to different ways of thinking and perspectives, all of which are things that I really value and are important to me. But at the same time, I didn't feel nearly as strongly at other universities I toured at. And just looking back on my first year here at Cal, I've just been constantly pushed out of my, academic comfort zone to explore classes completely unrelated to my major, try new things, branch out, meet new people, and like embrace the culture of it socially. And I'd say just overall, I'm really grateful that I ended up here and just get to surround myself every day with people who inspire me to broaden my horizons. And yeah, that's my Berkeley story.
Yeah, my Berkeley story, I think, starts off like a little differently than Rayann. I never actually toured Berkeley before getting accepted, just because like before moving to San Diego, I had lived in the Bay Area, so I was only about like a 30-minute drive from Berkeley. And I thought, initially like college had to be this experience where you had to go like really far away from home, away from your overbearing parents. I'm an only child, and so I definitely knew that if I went to Berkeley, they would visit me all the time. Definitely had to set some boundaries with that. But it was just a box on the UC application, and I thought, why not? My parents are paying for it, it's fine. So I ended up applying, and I got in. To my absolute surprise, I had always seen Berkeley as this institution that was like way above my academic level. I thought I would have all this imposter syndrome here. I never thought I would like fit in. Everybody would just be like way too smart for me, or like I just heard all these really terrible rumors about Berkeley. And I didn't have any close friends that went there to kind of like balance them out, or say, hey, like these are actually myths. I still thought, like, at the end of the day, Berkeley is the #1 public school in the entire world. How could I say no to the opportunity to go to that school? Because with that reputation, obviously Berkeley is so much more than its academics, but I think a school like that really does attract like amazing people with like such incredible minds. Like my friends are just like some of the most brilliant people I've met in my entire life at Berkeley. And like they kind of like Rayann said, like the people around you just like push you so much to be a better person, like and student. But I've just grown so much as a person in my time at Berkeley, and found that a lot of things I was like worried about, I like they were really just myths. Like I thought, everybody was just focused on their academics, or everybody was like really competitive and not collaborative. But like my first day at Berkeley, I fell down 3 flights of stairs and like 15 people came and helped me. And like, so people are very nice here. Definitely not something you need to worry about. The students will support you to be better. And I don't think like any other school, I would have grown as much as I have in my time at Berkeley.
Awesome. Great Berkeley stories, guys. Just to echo both of you, like Berkeley is way more collaborative than competitive. Like people here really do like raise you up instead of like push you away / down. But yeah, that's just my experience, my 4-year experience being an alum. My heart. Anyway, so now we're going to end the tour. So thank you for bearing with us. Get it, bear pun? Anyway, thank you for bearing with us for the full hour. If you want to actually go onto uvisit.berkeley.edu or .com/Berkeley/Berkeley, excuse me, words are hard. Uvisit.berkeley.edu. Oh my God. Anyway, go to that. We'll go to that website and you can actually take a 3D tour of campus, like actually get to walk throughout campus. That's kind of a fun thing in case like to kind of like add on to this tour. You can also follow us on Instagram at Visit UC Berkeley. And if you have any other questions, if you happen to for some reason have a question pop in your head at midnight, please email us at tour@berkeley.edu. And then as student ambassador will answer your question. You can also read some blogs from our student ambassadors and like what they're up to. Maybe you can read about Sydney surfing sometime. I know you can read about one of our other ambassadors surfing. So you can go to beartalk.berkeley.edu. You can also see some more of our recorded virtual visits, like I mentioned, on our website. And also if you go to our YouTube channel at Visit UC Berkeley. And also like Sydney, or I forget who mentioned it at the beginning, but we were celebrating 150 years of women here at Berkeley. You can go to that website there and read more about it. And if you want to see about admissions, like I said, we didn't talk about admissions, you can go to their admissions presentation at admissions.berkeley.edu/visit. So with that, I think we have mentioned everything. Thank you for sticking with us for the full hour. So Sydney and Rayann, if you want to unmute and say go Bears like we usually do about for everything that's Berkeley, unmute on the count of 3. So 1, 2, 3. Go Bears!
Go Bears!
Thank you and have a great day.